struggling to figure out what you should do for your workouts, you're at home, you have no equipment, you're lost, you want to work all your muscles, and you're just drawing a blank. In this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step an entire workout that I did to target your entire body, a full body workout that you can do without any equipment. And I'm just going to explain what each exercise does, what muscles you should be feeling, and how many reps you should be doing. So let's get started. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Alina, or Coach Alina from Instagram, and I'm a certified personal trainer who is here to help motivate and educate you to get started on your fitness journey without feeling overwhelmed with all the information and all the exercises that are out there. So let's get started with the workout. This first exercise is called a skater, or skaters, whatever you prefer. A really great exercise to actually get your heart rate up while working your legs and your balance. The trick is to go from one end of your mat to the other. Based on your height, it could vary, and to try and balance on your leg as you go go back and forth. This is a tricky exercise because it does require balance, but it's so worth it. So what I recommend for people is that they start off with, instead of only going on one leg like I'm demonstrating here, but to actually tap the leg that's following to the ground so that you have a stable place to stop, and then repeat the movement. The great thing about this movement is it takes very little time to get good at it. So when I first started, I actually fell once, but as I kept doing it, within like a few weeks of doing it, I was able to do it basically the way I'm showing you now. I promise that it is worth it. So you're going to want to feel it on the side of your legs, so the sides of your glutes and your thighs. And if you're keeping your core engaged, so just like really keep your abs tight during this exercise, you'll feel it there. If you use your arms during it, you might feel it a little bit in your arms, but mainly it'll be your legs, and you should feel your heart rate going up during this movement. The next exercise is a reverse lunge with a knee up. I've shown reverse lunges on this channel before if you've seen any of my previous videos, but I love them because they target your entire leg, your quads, your glutes, and your balance, because you're doing one leg at a time, so challenging and engaging your core. And by adding the knee up, you're just adding some more difficulty to it. So if you are an absolute beginner and a reverse lunge is difficult for you, just get rid of the knee up. You don't need it, it's totally fine. You'll still feel a lot of benefits from this exercise. So just do the reverse lunge as shown, and based on that, you'll start to see that your balance is improving and that one side might be a little easier than the other. But if you are having trouble or difficulty with this movement, just keep one hand on a wall and you'll be able to work your way up. If you have weights, you can definitely add them to this exercise, but they're not necessary. I actually do this without weights if I'm doing it with the knee up, because I do find it very challenging. And where you keep your hands can actually change the difficulty of the exercise. If you keep your hands here by your ears in what's called prisoner stance, it's actually the most challenging because you're working your shoulder muscles too, and it's harder to balance. If you keep your hands on your hips, it actually makes it a little bit easier so that you have less to focus on and you're just focused on getting your leg back and forward to just get the exercise down. Exercise is a Russian twist with a tap. So I always thought that this was too easy and not worth doing. I was very wrong. I apologize. Essentially, this is an ab exercise. It works a lot. It works your obliques, so the side muscles in your abs, and also your transverse abdominis. So because you're keeping your body up and you're lifting your legs a little bit from the ground, you're actually working the innermost muscles in your abs too to keep your body up. And I think that's great because that muscle is actually really, really helpful if you tighten it and work it and make it stronger, to just look leaner, look like you have a smaller waist, etc. By tapping each side with the opposite hand, you'll actually engage your obliques, which again, who doesn't want to work the side muscles in their abs? And I love it for that. But if you are a beginner and this is difficult for you, no worries. Keep your feet on the ground instead of keeping them up, and that'll make the exercise a little bit easier, and you'll definitely still feel it, especially in your obliques. So even if it is a little difficult, there's always a way to make it a bit easier and doable for you. The next exercise is a plank with a forward tap. I love planks. They're so good for you, even though they're really irritating to do sometimes. But I like to incorporate a little bit of movement into my planks a lot of the time to make them more interesting, and it just makes it more likely that I'll end up doing it. So this is a plank with a forward tap, so you'll actually work your shoulders a little bit more during this exercise. So in a typical plank, your shoulders and your arms and your abs are super engaged, but by adding the forward tap, you're actually going to add more pressure onto one shoulder at a time to keep your body up, which will then in turn make the exercise more difficult, and you'll just feel it more in your upper body. If the plank itself is difficult enough for you, just do the plank. You don't need to do the forward tap. It's totally fine, and you'll still feel it in your shoulders and in your abs. I always like to try and incorporate at least one plank-based move, whether it's like a push-up or a mountain climber or this, because I think working those muscles in your abs is super important and you see progress super quickly. So this is a newer exercise that I started doing because I never thought much of it, but this glute bridge walkout is a lot more difficult than I thought. So I've done glute bridges before, I've shown you those before, love them, will always do them, but a glute bridge walkout is actually a really cool way to use your hamstring muscles a little bit more, which can be difficult when you're not using any equipment. So I'm really happy I found this exercise because working your hamstrings is so critical, just because we're often really quad dominant, and because we sit a lot, our hamstrings suffer and we tend to neglect them a lot during exercises. So finding ways to incorporate hamstring movement is really exciting to me. So I love doing this exercise for that reason. So when you're walking out, make sure your hips do not touch the ground. That is the key to making this exercise work. And if you want to level up, if you want to make it a little more difficult, only do one leg at a time and really fatigue one side of your body and not give it a rest before you move on to the next. So I'm doing this alternated, which is how I recommend everyone start this exercise. So I'm doing right leg, then left leg, right leg, then left leg. But if you want to make it more challenging, you can do, let's say 10 reps on the right and then 10 reps on the left, and that'll in turn make it a little bit harder for you. The next exercise is an alternating hyperextension. So basically, you're going to lift while lying on your stomach, your right arm and left leg, go down and then lift your left arm and right leg. And this is a great exercise for working basically your back, especially your lower back. So again, we sit a lot, we're a computer-driven nation, and we don't probably stand up as often as we need to during the day. So our lower back often gets tight and neglected and weaker, and it can lead to poor posture and just a lot of complications down the road. So I think working your lower back a few days a week is definitely super important, and this is a great exercise to do that. So super beginner friendly, you won't have any issues with it. Just make sure that your head and your eye level is towards the ground and you're not looking up, because that can actually mess with the alignment of your back. Next exercise is a good old jumping jack. I don't need to explain these that much. I love jumping jacks. They're convenient. You get your heart rate up. I think they're kind of fun to do, and you don't need to do anything special about them. If you are unable to do jumping jacks, if you have joint issues or you live in an apartment building where the noise will travel, you can just do marches. So put your hands by your ears and you can just march in place, and that'll actually also get your heart rate up and work similar muscles. So there's always a modification, like I always say. So try that out if jumping jacks is a struggle for you. The main reason I incorporate jumping jacks is because I want to always have a way to get my heart rate going during my workouts, even if some of the movements are just more strength-based than cardio-based, and this is a great way to do that. And that's the entire workout. So thank you so much for watching. If you did find value from this video, if it helped you at all, please consider liking or subscribing. It would really mean the world to me. And if you have any questions or videos that you want me to do in the future, just drop a comment down below. I'll be sure to check it out. And you can also just ask me questions at @Alina_ on Instagram. I'm really active on there and talk to people in my DMs all the time who want to get started with fitness, and I'm just really excited to help you. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait till next time. Bye.